Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. My name is Sean Benson. I'm one of your hosts. You might not know that if you're new to our show in the last few weeks, because I've been away at work. My schedule isn't something I get to control. And I just want to say thank you to this team, to Hanchi Legacy, Sensei Suino, Sensei Dauphin, because as Sensei said, we're all OG here, and it means a lot when I can be away and my seat is waiting when I get back. And the show runs so beautifully and fluidly without me because no one of us is as good as all of us. So thank you so much for that. And everybody, tonight's a host chat, which I just love because I've missed you three. I'd way rather jump in and just get caught up as a crew. And then I look forward to our guests down the road. So I just want to say how excited I am for that. And I'll just throw out the housekeeping real quick before we get into our introductions. If you're watching on YouTube later, hit that smash and subscribe. We're happy you're here. If you're listening on the podcasts, it's Halloween season, so maybe bake something with a little bit of cinnamon and something a little bit spooky while you're listening. But if you're here on the Zoom call, on our host chat, you're part of our live history, and we actually want you to put your camera on for your questions. You don't have to. You can let our moderator know if you're camera shy tonight. But we want to see you. We want to chat with you, and that's one of the little extras we do on our host chat. So we do our introductions pretty quickly when we have a guest. But I just want to say, I get the opportunity to introduce Sensei Suino when we do these, and all I can say about Sensei Suino is that every time I see you and get to know you better, I want to see you and get to know you more, because as we deepen our friendship, but also the role model you create, as a man in a certain decade, that's a number in the 60s that feels like it should be scary. And when I look at you, it's not. And I just want to say that because as I look at my next decade of training, you're even beyond that. And I think the important thing about not just being a teacher, but a human is to be a role model. And you are one for me. How you doing tonight, Sensei Suino?
Doing great. You know what Dolly Parton says, right? Takes a lot of money to look this cheap. And I'm very grateful for your comments. And hopefully I'm delaying the onslaught of old age a little bit by spending hundreds of dollars on vitamins and exercising constantly. So far, so good. Knock on wood.
Wait, did you do extra blood work? I saw your Instagram today. Did
I'm
you?
waiting. I'm waiting for the results.
Okay, got it.
You can't be superhuman without spending super amounts of money on blood tests and everything else. But listen, Sean, it's great to have you back. Yes, it's so nostalgic just having you utter the initial words to start this podcast out. We missed you very much. I'm glad you're back, man.
You want to say anything about Sensei Dauphin while we're here?
I do. Here's what I want to say about Sensei Dauphin, and I'm going to toss in a little Hanchi Legacy while I'm at it. They were just down here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, running the first iteration of our practical fighting camp, which I absolutely loved. And everybody that came to it absolutely loved it as well.
Yeah,
we did a bunch of striking, we did some takedowns, we did some groundwork, and then Sensei Dauphin put together a way to practice all that stuff under real time with a round clock and everything else. And man, the raves I got from that, people absolutely loved every piece of it, and each one had a little different character. Hanchi taught the way only Hanchi can teach. I stumbled through a little bit of teaching that people didn't get too upset about, and then we did the rolling. And one of the things about all the smiles and all the comments was that everybody said they felt like they were in great hands, that they were learning great stuff, and while they smiled, they had a puffy lip or a closed eye. I've got some bruises on my legs that I don't even remember getting. Everybody's.
That wasn't from the training, Sensei.
Well, listen, this is a family style show, but a good time was had by all, and I just got to thank the two gents on this call for coming down, committing their time and energy to making this a great event. And we'll probably chat a little bit later about the second iteration of that event that's coming up early in the new year. But without them, I couldn't have done anything like what we just did, and I'm super grateful for that.
Thanks. And before we pass it off to Sensei Dauphin, I just want to say that my students who were there were just pinging me on the ride home, just full of adrenaline, going, wow, it's not exactly what we expected, because they thought it'd be more just like rolling and takedowns. That whole real world aspect of it blew their minds, and they were so excited and can't wait to do it again in January.
And tell Alden thank you for not knocking my block off when we were sparring.
Okay. I'll pass it on. He's downstairs.
Fair enough.
What about you, Sensei Fan? You want to say hi about Hanchi Legacy or chat about Sensei Suino at all?
Yeah, my feed's kind of glitchy, I can tell. So after this, I might drop off and come back. I want to say I was super proud to do that event. Suino Sensei often says Sensei Legacy is like the Yoda of the, because he just says few things, but it always comes across very impactfully. I was super proud to be on the floor as one of the instructors with Sensei Legacy and Sensei Suino. I'm always super happy when both of them use me as an uke. And I just want to share with everybody, like in the end, when we did the wrap up, we asked Sensei Legacy to have the final word. And he gave some really good words of wisdom that I think everybody should take away, which are, if you like something about this day, you need to train it. You need to go away and you need to train that thing and you need to make it a part of you and what you do. And I think that's true 100%. And those words of wisdom are something that over the last 37 years, I've been like, that's just for me, something that's common knowledge because Sensei Legacy's been saying it to my face, whispering it in my ear for decades now. The other thing I want to say is often Sensei Legacy will leave these events and say, how was that? Was that good? Because the things that he knows that are just common knowledge to him, like the way he can punch and the way he can do things, he thinks other people know that and they don't, right? Like, so when they leave, their minds are blown. And like, if you want to see a person throw a reverse punch, there's only one punch. That's the punch that Sensei Legacy does. And if you want to see somebody do an amazing punch, come to one of these seminars and watch them do a punch. I'm still trying to do it. Like after 36 years, I'm still trying to do that punch. I've had some marginal success, but I want it to be that punch. And that's how I want to introduce Sensei Legacy tonight. Just loved it. Loved the hamburger we had after and every moment of it. And then he was here on Tuesday night. Like, what did he do after he left the practical fighting seminar? He got in his car and drove to Kitchener and taught 37 people here at Legacy Schreiner in Kitchener. And the people here all raved about it. Like, I've got nothing but like positive comments. So if you could have trained with Matsumura, you should have. You have the chance to train with Sensei Legacy. You should. Because in 100 years, people are going to say, hey, what was that guy like? And a few of us will say, hey, we know because we trained with him. Get your ass in the dojo with him if you can.
Thanks, Sensei Fan. Before I throw it to Hanchi Legacy, do you remember Sensei Fan when you came to one of my birthday parties and a bunch of acting friends of mine were quoting back your words to you because I would use them while teaching acting. And it's kind of what you're talking about. Like for me, I was just taking it for granted as an example. And for these young students, it wasn't even karate. Their minds were being opened in a way that we've forgotten it was that for us and taken for granted. And I love the way you said that. It's like, and that's kind of where I think it's our responsibility and our job to pass it on because I don't know, I forget, but then I remember again through their eyes what it was like to have my front leg shake like this in a Zenkutsu. And it's a beautiful thing mentally and physically to reinvigorate that. Hanchi, what about you? How do you want to say hi tonight?
I just want to say that last weekend was a good weekend because the students really were attentive. They tried really hard, and it's easy to teach when you have good students. It makes the teacher want to be a better teacher. He wants to give more information. So, and I wasn't alone and trying to make it sound like I was alone, but I even saw some takedowns and stuff that made sense to me, and how he's bringing people to their heels and pulling them down, and I never quite understood that before. So I learned a lot myself. I'm a student. That's it.
Thanks, Hanchi. Sensei Fan, I know you got a question teed up to start us off. Where do you want to go?
I do. But Sean, listen, you haven't been here for a while. And I always like to shine a little light on you. And listen, everybody here, we've been talking about you, even though you haven't been here. This isn't necessarily a martial arts thing, but for a guy who built yourself up and then totally fucking crashed. And when I mean crashed in the worst possible way a human could crash, like almost on the verge of death. You're like a phoenix, brother, rising out of the ashes. And if I see Sense Suino and Sense Legacy nodding their heads, I'm super proud of you, man, for what you've done since that dark day. And we're really happy for you that when you're not here because you're doing the thing that you love to do, that thing that you've had a passion to do. Really proud of you, Sean, and good for you, happy for you. And you got nothing but support from these people and an army of people who would help you if you needed that help. So congratulations to you.
Did I say something here?
Yeah.
Speaking of Sean, he got us parts in a motorcycle movie or show or whatever it was, and we were like bricks in the house. Nobody noticed us, but we were in this scene where we were locked into a garage with the Outlaws motorcycle gang, the one, in the show. And he played this wired up leader, and I was one of his guys. And we went through this scene where, they pulled guns on us and everything. And when it was over, they opened the garage door so all the actors could leave and everything. And I just sort of waited around for Benson to come and just to talk to him on the way out. And just at that time, the director stood up and looked at the cameraman and said, "We're so lucky to have him." Like, I mean, yeah, how much, the director and the producer and everybody are there, praising you. He's a good actor.
Thanks, Hanshi.
Yeah. Want to see him do something. Look for Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm so excited. Thanks, Hanshi. I appreciate that. Thanks, Sensei Dauphin. And I will say that Friday last, I hit 17 years sober. That was my sober birthday on Friday. So it's I really appreciate the wishes, and especially what you're talking about, Sensei Dauphin. That's be none of this without that.
How many people have done anything for 17 years in a row? And being sober is a hard one. So, so this is my question out of the gate for each one of you. And I hope you have questions because I want to answer them. Originally, I thought no repeats. We can't repeat answers, but that I just asked you to elaborate a little bit. Any top 3 guests you would like to have on Punch Kick Choke Chat? Not of all time, I mean alive today. So like, of course, it would be great to have, Jigoro Kano or Matsumura or Miyamoto Musashi on the show. But living people on the earth today, who are the top 3 guests you'd like to have on here? And what is the reason why you would like to have them on here? And Benson, I'm going to start with you. I'm gonna punch it to you first, my friend.
Okay, great. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have some fun with this one. GSP, that's my GOAT. He's my number 1. There's no world in which I don't want him on here. But I actually want to break it out a little into my world. I would like to have Jean-Claude Van Damme. He'd be one of my top 3. And I only thought of this because I thought of Van Damme. I actually had Tony Robbins written down, which Sensei Suino, I know you'll appreciate, but I scraped him out. I'd love to have, and it would be martial arts less, Ralph Macchio on, because Karate Kid, more than any other movie, is why I'm here. I love the blood sports. I love the Chuck Norris MIA movies. I loved all the stuff. I was a little young for the Bruce Lee, other than in repeats and video, but Karate Kid, I've probably seen more than all of them, and it holds up. And then we know Cobra Kai came back and created a whole new wave. So those are my 3: GSP, JCVD, and Ralph Macchio.
Okay, but you said I think your answer was great for Ralph Macchio. I know Jean-Claude Van Damme because you're 49% gay and you like that guy, which, hey, no judgment. Like, it's all great. And maybe that's the same reason why you want GSP on the show. Again, no criticism. They're both handsome dudes.
I'll warm up the sauna.
So, why GSP and Jean-Claude Van Damme? What are the things about them that you think would help the show or you'd be interested in?
Well, okay, so Jean-Claude Van Damme, for his action excellence in the 80s, Bloodsport to me still stands up in the pantheon of movies that are both amazing for what they were and also what they influenced. But also Van Damme had a little bit of a tumble himself, right? Like Van Damme sort of got a little high on his own supply and on his own ego and by his own admission. And when you watch the movie he made, JCVD, and when you see some of the stuff he's done in the last decade, it's very quiet, like an odd commercial, but he's willing to poke fun at his own persona. And so I think there's a maturity there over time that is a really interesting thing to access in any human, because if they're just hammering away at their own success story when their success is maybe a little past, that's not as interesting. But when they're humble about it and they know who they are and where they are now, I think there's real depth there. For GSP, I still can't get over what we all know to be true with him, which is he created what I believe to be the modern glue of MMA. I think before him, you did have ground and pound, you did have wrestlers, and they were close. But he's the guy who went down and he was training with Danaher and with Henzo, and he was figuring out how to add the wrestling. And how does he beat Matt Hughes at the wrestle game, but then also at the striking? I just think he took each thing and glued it for the first time. And I think he's the first modern day Hall of Famer. And so I just want to get into all that. And he's just a classical martial artist who's humble. The guy's walking around in the same condition he fought in now. That's a role model times a million.
Love it. Love your answer, Sean. I actually think he's walking around better today than he was. But that's just my opinion. I'm going to go to Sense of Legacy next. So top 3 guests, in your opinion, that are alive today that we would want to have on Punch Kick Choke Chat, and why would you want to have them on here?
Well, Bruce Lee. He's the guy almost everyone said changed martial arts. Just
How about alive ones though, Sensei? People that are alive. Do you have anybody who's alive?
okay.
No,
How about Chuck Norris? Chuck Norris is a guy that you always wanted to know if Bruce Lee, for instance, stood in front of him. And remember, in the movies, they pay him to lose to Bruce Lee, but I'd like to see who the real champion is. You know what I mean? In that sense, I guess we really wouldn't see it. It would be interesting to find that out. And Jackie Chan, I think, is an awesome human being and martial artist. Like all the things that he does, you can't, beyond past and beyond being a martial artist, all those stunts and everything that he does. I think he'd be an interesting guest.
And you just turned 70. You just turned 70, Jackie Chan.
Yeah. And right now I can't think of a third one. I can think of someone else.
I'll come back to you, Sensei, because
Okay.
I'd love to hear a third one. Sensei Suino, who are your top 3 guests that you would like to see on Punch Kick Choke Chat, and why would you like to see them on here?
Do you have your list ready?
I do, but I mean, we can do repeats. There's nothing that says that.
No, I just want to come in after you. I'm still this question took me a little bit by surprise, and I want to hear a little bit more before I weigh in.
Okay, well, listen, obviously Sean took one of mine, which is GSP. Love that guy. The other one we've already had him on would be Jean-Claude or Jean-Yves Theriault. We already had him on. But my 3 would, if I take GSP off the list, because Sean said it, number 1 for me would be Joe Rogan. I'd really love to have Rogan on our podcast. Martial artist, super high functioning, intelligent human being, has done a lot of the things that we talk about at a high level. He's been a kickboxer. He's competed in classical martial arts. He's a BJJ practitioner, health and fitness. Like, talks to all the people we want to talk to. I think he might be my number one of everybody we could have on. I think it would be Joe Rogan, who'd be the number one. Like if somebody just, I rubbed a bottle and a genie popped out and said, you can have 3 people on Punch Kick Choke Chat, I think Joe Rogan would be the number one person that I would say that we want to have on here. If we couldn't have him, I think Dana White would be my number 2.
Oh, great.
Interesting.
I would love to have Dana White on. We always say we wish the show was a little bit more spicy. He for sure would fucking make it. That guy would make it spicy for sure. We probably all would have some comments and criticisms about things he had to say, but he wouldn't be afraid to say anything, and he'd have a lot to say. And people would be interested in what he had to say. And then my number 3, honestly, would be at this point, somebody we've talked to that we're working hard to get on, but I'd love to have Cynthia Rothrock on the show. She would be one, as far as female martial artists go, she's a movie star. She's a high level martial artist, and she's been a high level martial artist for a long time. I think she'd be an outstanding guest for us to get on the show. I think she'd have a lot to say. I think a lot of people would be interested to hear what she has to say. And yeah, those would be my 3. Since we're talking about it right now, those would be the 3. So for me, Rogan, Dana White, Cynthia Rothrock, not necessarily in that order, but yeah. So since where do you got to answer now? And then we're going to go back to Sense of Legacy for his last one. He gave 2 and I want to hear his third one. I'm interested. So
Yeah, 100%. If we're going for like first impression list, I definitely would have said GSP, Joe Rogan, Chuck Norris. Those are my first 3, but we've mentioned those. So here's where I'm going. Bas Rutten.
Woo!
Because he's a great fighter. He's got a great sense of humor, and he just seems like a really fun guy to talk to or to hang out with, or go for a beer with. Like, I'd be all over that. Bas Rutten would be a great guest for this show. My second choice would be a brother and sister pair. They're the Abe from the Abe family, and they've been Japanese judo champions for a number of Olympics and World Games. So repeat judo champion, a brother and a sister, right? And they're small of build, so they play judo in a really active, very dynamic division. Well, each of them do. They both won multiple champions, and they've had a little adversity lately. So I think they'd be really interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think they speak great English, but you didn't qualify the question, so I'm keeping them in there. And then my number 3 choice is Mikey Musumeci.
Yes.
Right, who freaking one of the best, or pound for pound, maybe the best BJJ grappler on the planet right now. I love what he stands for. He's a great technical grappler. He finds other champions, learns their moves, and beats them in tournaments with their move. And then he's the nicest guy in the world. He shakes their hand, he gives them a hug. He's anti-steroids. And he's anti like stupid dumb guy talk, which I love it. And maybe more than anything else, he only eats 1 meal a day, and he makes his own pasta and pizzas, right? And he works out all day, works out for 12 hours, and then he makes himself 2 giant pizzas, eat them until his belly sticks out a mile, and then he falls into a coma and sleeps for 12 hours, gets up and does it again. So I love the guy, and I would like to roll with him in a friendly setting, but I'd love to have him on here. So that's my choice. Bas Rutten, the Abe brother and sister team, and Mikey. I'd love to have those 3 guys on.
I love those. Love those answers. Sense Legacy, do you have a third one that you want to chime in now, or do you want to take one of the ones that's already been?
I'm not sure I know his name, but I think it's Conor McGregor. Is that his name?
Absolutely.
That guy would stir it up.
Yeah.
I'd choose him. He'd stir it up. He wouldn't be afraid to talk about other people.
Right?
No.
Yeah. I would love to have him on. I just love his shtick. I mean, maybe that's just who he is, right? But man, he's just that he plays the bad guy, and he just does such a great job of it.
Yeah. He took the
That,
heel
that was
all
it,
the way.
basically. He'd tell you what he
Uh,
thought about everybody.
Yeah, even though this is a family show, you could also say something like, you know, hey, McGregor, we don't think your dick's that big. And he'd stand up on his desk and pull it to everybody.
Look at that. Look at mine. You'll do nothing.
Right.
Look at my titanium shin
That's-
bone.
He's a pretty good fighter on top of that.
It's one of my, I'm sad about him because, you know, good for him, man. He took 100 million plus bucks. Why not? Right? Everyone deserves to win their own
Yeah.
lottery. I would have loved to see what that guy could have been if he ever defended and stayed a fighter for at least another 2 years. But we don't get to write another person's story. But yeah,
He,
Yeah.
Well,
the guy that he fought, they made him box the guy, right?
yeah.
Right after the fight, he said, "But I won't fight him MMA style." So
No,
there's no world where Floyd Mayweather is going to be McGregor in a no holds match. Like,
yeah,
actually, there's no world where Floyd Mayweather is going to beat any one of us in a no holds barred match. And Floyd Mayweather, if you're watching this and you want to fight one of us, please call us out. I will be happy to fight you wherever you want to fight me, especially if it's no holds barred. Like, I'm good.
I'm a blue belt. I'm a blue belt in BJJ. I'll take him on in a BJJ match.
Yep. All good.
Amen. Amen. Okay, I got a fun question that one of my students asked, and I think it's a good one. So we know that cultural appropriation is a term that came into, you know, the public in the last decade in a big way. And, you know, pictures of people dressing in, you know, Aladdin costumes or even dressing as the native from the village people, that kind of thing isn't considered that cool anymore. But the one thing, and I'm going to start with you on this one, Sensei Suino, having lived in Japan, the martial arts seems to have just received no backlash. And I know why I think it is. But why do you think, or do you agree, that martial arts in general has received no criticism for cultural appropriation, even though we're dressing in Japanese attire, we're doing ceremonial stuff that has nothing to do with being a white kid from Guelph, but no one seems to mind. It's the one thing that's escaped it. And I wonder why you think that is, assuming you agree, Sensei Suino.
I mean, I don't call to mind any occasions where people did say, "Oh, you're appropriating Japanese
neither.
culture." I don't know. Are they afraid to have their asses kicked? I don't know the answer, Sean. I have no idea why. Because you know, we're not on a political show, but the whole idea of calling those horses forth, you know, suddenly deciding that it's no good to, you know, dress up in a kimono if you're not Japanese or celebrate Chinese New Year if you're to me, that's absurd. And I could go on forever about why.
Sure.
And so I get a little maybe inarticulate when I think of issues like this, but I don't know. I don't think it has received any backlash. I'm not sure why.
Right on. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to get too political about it, but I remember a girl went to Chinatown, bought a dress that a Chinese woman sold her, wore it to prom, and got a lot of shit for it online. But when I post photos in a gi, the same people who might question that girl's prom dress are like, "Good for you, that's rad, Sean." And
Right.
I think it's a really cool and valid question. What do you think, Sensei Dofan?
I don't know if it's a valid question, to be honest with you. Nobody owns a punch. Nobody owns a kick. Nobody owns a certain piece of clothing or a color of clothing that you wear. If I come into class with my eyes taped back to teach class, right, then that's probably something that's rude, and that's cultural appropriation to me, like, because that's not what I am, but I can wear whatever fucking clothes I want to wear, and I don't care who likes it, right? Like, in the end, I don't care who likes it. I'll wear whatever I want to wear. Any shoes I want to wear, if they're gonna, you know, is somebody gonna complain if, like, I'm a garden gnome, if the shoes have like round points on the front and I'm culturally appropriating garden gnomes? Yeah, nobody owns like my body moves the same way that Japanese people's bodies move. And I guess in the end, Sean, the other thing I would say is, what is the intention behind what you're doing? Are you paying it homage and respect? Or are you cheapening it and making it something that it shouldn't be, right? We really respect, like, the people on this call, we really respect other cultures, like, deeply. Like,
Yep.
Japanese culture for sure, Okinawan culture. I think actually being a karate practitioner has opened the door to me having a deeper respect for other cultures, like a much deeper respect and appreciation for other cultures. Yeah, so I guess that's where I take it. And the last thing I would say is, like, is this your problem or is this the world's problem? Right? Like, are you like, like, piss off, like, just mind your own business. If you think somebody's culturally appropriating something, like, it's your culture, maybe just talk to them instead of like getting more likes and thumbs up and stuff on the social media. Maybe just mind your own business.
What do you think, Hanshi Legacy?
Well, if I'm reading this right, the Japanese dress like cowboys all the time and like Elvis, right? It's just a culture exchange type of thing. And martial arts dojos are cultures. They have their own language, they have their own rituals, they wear their own clothes. And it's like Superman, they do good things. So I think that's why it's accepted. A lot of mothers and fathers would like to see their children in it. So they understand that behind these rituals and stuff, that it's good. It's not a bad thing, right? We never cause trouble. You very, very rarely would find a martial artist starting a fight or getting into trouble. I think the total idea is that this is a good thing. Sure, it came from somewhere else, but anything that's good, I think most people would accept.
Thanks, Hanshi. Yeah, my answer goes along with your Sensei Dauphin. Like, I think the extreme amount of respect. And then the other one, Sensei Suino, you can maybe speak to this or not, but just in my limited time in Okinawa and Japan, those instructors are so happy and proud to have people in North America doing their thing. I mean, the people I met were like, look at this other person I know who does it over there, and look at this actor I know. So there's this desire, at least among the masters I met, to have it be practiced elsewhere under their auspices.
Well, that's an interesting part of it. Maybe that figures in, although I don't think rationality is the prime driver for people that call stuff like that out.
Right.
But I think that's part of it too, is that in order to get rank from a Japanese master, you have to train with them, put in the time, do what they say, right? They're not, we're not making this stuff up as we go along. And if I go over to Japan and train judo or karate, I got to wear the uniform that they tell me to wear. I'm not wearing it as cosplay, right? I'm wearing it because that's part of the culture of that dojo. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting question.
Thanks, Sensei Suino. Sensei Dauphin.
Yeah, I just want to quickly just say two things. Why aren't we all just riding around in North American automobiles? Cars and motorcycles were invented in the United States. Are they culturally appropriating our technology when other countries make them better and do it better? And the other thing I want to say is Yamaguchi Sensei, in my opinion, when Sensei Legacy asked him, I want to study Iaido, Yamaguchi Sensei didn't say, you need to get on a plane and go to Japan and live there. He said, my best student is coming back from Japan. He's an American and you should learn from him.
Thanks.
Even
Sensei
though I
Dauphin.
did train with him, he was open to training with us, though.
Love that. Thanks for perspective on that. And I'll make sure my student who was talking about that watches this show. Sensei Andrew Percival has a question. I just pinged him to see if he wanted to be on camera. I haven't heard back yet. So if we can get Andrew on camera, or let us know that he doesn't want to be, and we'll just ask his question.
I think he said something about he can't be on camera. Oh, he can after 9. minutes after 9, so he can be.
Hey,
There he is.
Shane, Andrew.
Good, how are you? My question is, how have you struggled as a martial arts instructor, and how have you navigated those challenges? I'll start with Sensei Benson and then I'll ascend.
Okay, great. My biggest struggle has been not the consistency of my own training, but literally the consistency of my location, my able to hit a Monday, Wednesday, this, that, which has never been something I've been able to do. My job will just shoot me a schedule and I'm just gone for 3 weeks or whatever. So my biggest challenge as a teacher has been to create a consistency that would let a student choose my club over another club where they're offering classes multiple times a week and they don't have to wait while I'm gone. And so how did I navigate that? I basically taught very special individuals. And by that, I had some students in Los Angeles when I lived there. I had to find them dojos when I moved away, but they were willing to work with my schedule. And then when I got here, I had one student for 7 years. His name's Alden Adair, because
Right.
when I left, he'd keep training and I'd come back and he was better. And then he'd get a job at Stratford. And there was no other way no one else showed up who was willing to take that deal. When he got his black belt, we could then open a club because one of us could now always be there. And now the club's growing in a really lovely way. So it's a really practical struggle that emerged for me, which is how to juggle my career. And but the real answer, Andrew, was just to keep teaching. You know, I was in a park and I was actually working with Jason Reinhardt, who was in Toronto that day, Sensei Dauphin. And Alden, who I'd acted with, was like, can I come watch you do karate sometime? I said, come today. He watched that, said, I want this. And now he's a second degree black belt who runs a club with me. So if I was unwilling to teach no one or go to that park alone in my gi, there wouldn't be a club. So there's times where no one's there, but I have to keep being there.
Right. Thank you for that. Sensei Dauphin?
Besides having to train you, as I'm just kidding. It's a joy. And I know the intention behind your question, Percival Sensei, because if you don't know, Andrew has recently opened a dojo in Hamilton. So he's trying to glean some wisdom from everybody to help himself, which I think that's admirable. I guess a lesson for me would be, it's not about me, right? Like when you're a martial arts teacher, it's not about you. It's really about the martial art and making sure you're representing that martial art well. There's going to be a lot of details that are going to like come up that have nothing to do with any of that you might get hung up on, but it's not about you. And another thing, I guess the answer is about taming your ego as an instructor, like making sure that your ego is tamed. Because one thing that I've learned in the last 10 years that I really value now is it's okay for people to like other instructors, right? Like in here, you know, you're one of the instructors. There's a number of instructors here, and not all the students who come here actually like me as the best instructor. They might like Sensei Watson. They might like Dave Fowler. They might like Sensei Chlumsky. They might like, that's okay. That's still all a net positive, and it's okay to just sit back and watch that all happen. And I don't have to work hard to make those people look at me, because that would just be about me and it wouldn't be about the art. So that's one thing I would say. Tame your ego. It's okay for people to like other instructors. Don't get hung up on the small details. Just keep it about the art.
Right. Thank you. That's really, I'll think on that. Sensei Suino?
Yeah, what would I add to what Randy just said? I've learned to really appreciate the struggle of newer students and people that maybe don't walk in the door with a lot of talent. I've got a very fast clock, and so I can be really impatient sometimes, but I've gotten a lot more patient. And as a result of that, I've developed some really wonderful people that I might have put aside or ignored because they didn't keep up with my pace of teaching or communicating. so happily, I guess I've matured and I've learned to embrace the struggle of students early. And that means that some of them have gone on to become really, really good martial artists. And even if they aren't martial arts champions, they become really wonderful people. And that's become more and more important to me the older I get. That's part one. And another one is a lesson, because I choose stuff over a lot. And I spend a lot fewer nights, not being able to sleep and worrying about some stupid little thing that happened at JMac or somebody, something somebody said. And I codified it into a little meme that I told Randy, and I know he values it too. I said, when I'm struggling like that, I ask myself, are you going to quit? And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this the rest of my life. Then it's just logistics, right? Like if it's not existential, it's just logistics. And having come up with that makes it a lot easier. I don't have to sit all night and go, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything, because I'm never going to quit martial arts. And so everything else can go up and down about it. And once I know that, then I've just got to deal with the problem. And it's really simplified things for me. So that's been something I've come to through the sweat and bullets at night, worrying about stuff for way, way, way too long.
That was when Sensei Dauphin had used that in the dojo the one time. I've taken that and tried to incorporate that, and it's been a good one. So thank you. Punchy Legacy.
Could you repeat that question? I want to make sure I got it right.
Hey, how have you struggled as a martial arts instructor, and how did you navigate those challenges?
I'm from a different era. Like there are like thousands and thousands of good martial arts teachers now. I came from an era where it was hard to find a good sensei. I had to travel to San Francisco, I had to travel to Kansas, all sorts of different places. So with me, I was lucky in a couple of different ways, but it took me 10 years after 3 of my senseis died, right?
Hey.
So I was always had the same sensei. I only had one sensei. I only had to answer to them. And they just died by just nature, right? Like that. So it was hard for me to hunt down a sensei in order to keep myself ahead of my students, because good students will just run you over if you don't keep your nose to the grindstone.
Hey.
So now that I think about it, might have been unlucky for the senseis that were probably running away from me, because it's the last 3 died. So in those days, there weren't senseis like there are now. So I had to go to San Francisco. I had to go to the United States. The United States was a watering hole for martial artists because of the Marines and the infantry and like that, coming back from abroad, and they brought all that information back. So we just had to cross the border as opposed to going there. So if you have a good sensei, hang on to him or she, and accustom yourself to that. And if you chose him to start with, choose a sensei and be loyal and just stay under his wing. You've already made your decision. So unless he asks you to do something unreasonable, do what he says or she.
Thank you. Thank you for the chance to pop on, guys. Love training with you guys this weekend. Look forward to training again with you soon.
Hey, Andrew, before you go though, what struggles are you always need to answer your own questions. So what struggles are you having right now as a new instructor, or not having? Answer your own question.
So the one struggle I'm having is similar to Sensei Suino's with the impatience, but also with the learning needs and like the physical capability. I have my class is 4 students, and the age range is 4 to 50 something. So mobility and physical capability on the higher end of my older students, and then the like learning and memory as well. So it's just a big balance between trying to manage everyone's needs and also going at the right speed and giving everybody what they need. So I really appreciate the answers, and I've been reapproaching how I've like I've slowed things down. I approached some teaching. So my one student's really struggling with remembering his kata as he's an older student. So I've taken some of the examples that you have given and that I know some of our other students have used, and I'm trying to implement them and give him different ways to approach it. So those are some of my big ones. And then the other one is getting people through the door, but I think that's everybody's.
Yeah, you just keep getting through the door and the people will come, right? But
I
bring a bucket of water to every class and throw it on everybody, and they're going to choose how wet they get, right? So,
I thank you
great
guys.
question. Good to see you, man. Nice sweatshirt too, by the way.
We're gonna.
Nice to see you, Andrew. I got a question, and I think this one will go relatively quick because I'm not going to answer it. But Mike Sheehan, one of my JITS coaches, who does a lot of seminars, Sensei Dauphin, I sent you this the other day. He posted about how seminars aren't where the magic is. After a year, you won't be better because of seminars. You'll be better because of going to the dojo or the mats every day. So I want to ask you three who give incredible seminars, what the benefit is of a seminar, but what the limit is. Are there seminar junkies who should be maybe just sitting at home more? And at what point is the seminar hitting its limit? And at what point is it something someone should run and find? Sensei Suino, you just gave me a nice little nod there. So I'm going to take that as you have ideas on this.
Yeah, for sure, man. Seminars can help inspire you. They can give you a new look at stuff, right? So if you get in a rut, a new passage in a jujitsu move, a new way to step or throw a new, the same punches in different ways from different directions. But I agree. The limitations are a seminar junkie is only gonna get so good. It's just like if you jump from sensei to sensei quickly without letting that stuff mature. If it's not good, then you're not done, right? If you learn something that's worthwhile, as Hanchi just said this weekend, as Randy has said many times at JMAC and at LMAF, you got to drill it. If you like it, you got to drill it, right? You got to train it. You don't own it till you train it. We do a physical art. It only lives through us as we practice it. So, I actually love that line. It's from a Christian rock song. If it's not good, then it's not done. And it's the same thing in martial arts, right? You're not done. And you're not done by going to a seminar and going, that's cool. You're done by going to a seminar and taking it back and practicing and practicing and practicing until you own it. So yeah, that's what I got.
Right on. Thanks, Sensei Suino. What about you, Hanchi Legacy? Where's a seminar something someone should go to, and where's the limit of what it can offer?
Sensei Suino cut me off there. Well, you go to a seminar and you learn one thing. When you learn one thing, there are only 10 basics. So when you learn one thing at a seminar, which you're probably going to learn a few things, it relates to more than that one thing. It relates to a lot of different things. So you're going there and learning, but you have to come back and train it. That was basically my tale in Ann Arbor. I told them, if you learn something here today, learning it and seeing it and hearing it from your sensei doesn't do it. You've got to go out and live that. You have to make it yours, like Sensei Suino said. So that's, yes. For instance, let's take when I went to Boston or wherever it was and met Sensei Yamaguchi and Sensei Suino. I changed my life in a way, right? So there are some good in seminars, whether it's contacts or learning one thing. Everybody goes and tries to learn like an entire kata or something, but you have to take what you get, take it home and do everything that you can with it. That'd be my answer.
Thanks, Hanchi. I want to give you the last word, Sensei Dauphin. Yeah, you just reminded me, and this is something we've talked about, like the Crucible wasn't a seminar, but we'll call it Introduction to New Stuff. And that changed my life because all of a sudden I started grappling. But also I always think of seminar and self-defense seminars as like rehab. Rehab will not get a human sober, but it'll get someone excited to get sober, and it'll give them enough exposure to realize when they go back to their life on Monday what they could do. But anyone who doesn't do it a year later will not have the tools to either beat someone in an alley or avoid the drink. So I'm a big fan. I mean, the seminars I've been to, I've loved, even the ones that weren't great. But I actually loved it because I was with you guys and it was a way to deepen what we have. So in some ways there's learning one thing, or even if it's like, oh, there wasn't much there, which reinforces that I'm actually with the people I want to be with. That alone can be worth the $120. Sensei Dofan?
Yeah, listen, you can go to seminars and learn new techniques. Like if it's in karate, I'm probably not going to many more seminars in my life because I'm not saying that I know everything, but I have a great teacher, and as Lacey just said, there's a limited number of techniques. I think I know most of them, and I can do them. But I think one of the values in going to seminars is you learn stuff about yourself. And I don't want to give away trade secrets here, but one of the things that our seminars do when you leave, you know some stuff, but you often feel a certain way when you leave. Like you feel a way that maybe you didn't feel before. So you go to the Crucible, you trained for 12 hours and you're like, fuck, I never thought I could train for 12 hours. And then in retrospect, you look back and go, holy shit, did I do a lot of stuff in those 12 hours, right? And then you're looking at the practical fighting seminar. That's an uncomfortable situation for a lot of people. Like, and if you're good at striking, I bet you learned more. And if you're not good at grappling, I'll bet you learned a lot. And at the end, you were super sweaty and red in the face. And you were leaving feeling like, oh my God, I did it. Like I learned a couple of things and I actually applied them and did good at them. So two other thoughts I would drop in is seminars are a great way to network and meet people, right? So you go to these seminars. I've never gone to a seminar before. Like even we did the practical fighting seminar this weekend. I met William. Suino Sensei said to me, that guy's a no-gi brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Make sure you can get a chance to roll with him. And I went over and when I had my chance and tapped him on the shoulder and said, Coach, could you give me a lesson here? Could you give me 3 minutes of your time? And he did. And we became, after that, like I know if he walked in here, he'd be happy to see me and I'd be happy to see him. So that's one thing you get from the seminar. You also get the chance, Sean, oftentimes, if you're strategic about it, to train with your heroes and people that you've really looked up to for a long amount of time. And you get this chance to, like, Suino Sensei probably didn't need to know a lot about grappling, but he went to a Hoist Gracie seminar. And I know he valued that experience because that's a person that he looked up to. I've had the opportunity to now go and train with Jean-Yves Theriault. And when I was 13, that's a guy that I wanted to train with. So I guess that's where I take it. Like, you get to test yourself. If you go to the right seminars, you get to network, you get to meet maybe people you wouldn't have ever had a chance to meet and form a relationship with. And hopefully you learn something and you feel really good. You feel good when you leave. You feel like you did something for yourself in the community.
Thanks, Sensei. Sensei Suino, this prompted a question for you.
Yeah. What is something that you want to do in martial arts in the next year that you haven't done yet? Because we've done a lot of stuff. Have we done it all? And if not, like what's, there's room to get better in everything we do, right? And I'm not saying, oh, if all your, it's not like our, one of our 10 questions where if, you couldn't do your martial art, what else would you do? I'm just saying realistically, in the next year, is there something new? Or is there some place you want to take your martial arts, or something you want to try that you can actually actuate, and do? Because we're just talking about what you get out of a seminar. Well, do you want to go to a seminar that you haven't gone to? So I'm curious about that. I think, Randy, it looked like you had some interest in that question. What are you going to do in the next year that in martial arts that maybe you haven't done yet?
Well, if you can remove the 12-month time frame.
Fair enough. Yeah.
something I've talked to Sense Legacy and I've talked to you about, Sense, is I'd really like to organize some type of a destination seminar. I'd really like to figure out an experience that people could go to, train in a particular thing for an extended period of time. So, when we talk about the seminar experience, often it's a one and done, right? You do a day, maybe you do 2 days if it's not a great event like Capital Conquest. I'd really love to have some destination experience in a really awesome place where you could have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 really good instructors that you could dive a little bit deeper with, right? I think adventure in going a place to also like creates a more immersive experience. So that's something I'd like to do. I think about that. I'd like to figure out how to do that. And when I say figure it out, it's not, please don't chime me with a bunch of emails about how to do it. That's not really what I want to know who I want to figure out who the right people are to do that type of a thing, and who we want to get there and where the destination would be. I think that would be a really cool, fun thing to do.
I like it. Like it. Punchy Legacy, is there something you want to do? It doesn't have to be in the next 12 months. Something you haven't done in martial arts yet that you'd
Well,
like to do?
I'm already doing it. I would like to discover more than what I really know already. So it's like having a mouthful, but wanting to digest it. There's a lot for me to discover in Shorin and in White Crane, because as I go along in White Crane and train, we train a group of fourth dans and up in White Crane every Thursday morning, and it's opening new things up for me. For instance, there's certain moves and katas and Shorin katas that nobody actually could tell me. I don't want to mention names, but some of my teachers and other people I went to and asked them about Shotokan and moves and Patsai Dai, for instance, nobody could answer. And then I think Randy might have been there when I asked Sensei Sandoval, and he goes, "Oh, there's a lesson in that." And then he showed us the lesson and showed us the move. And nobody, I mean, nobody knew, but he knew. So the White Crane has a lot to give me. And over the next year, probably the rest of my life, I'll be trying to dissect that style, make my karate better.
That's cool. I like that. Sean, what about you? What do you got? Is there something in the next 12 months or not limited by
Next
12 months?
Mine's so specific and so self-oriented is take home a gold in a JITS tournament. I haven't done that yet. I've only competed 3 times, and 2 of them were mine to win. One of them, the guy fully outpointed me and validly, but the other 2, tactical mistakes, not quite understanding how points and ring worked on my first match when I was doing better with the guy and I went for a thing I didn't need to go for. So I just want to like put together my game in a focused way. Now, if the best guy in the world shows up, I'm not that guy. So that's going to be not my win. But when 2 out of my 3 chances at gold could have gone my way, had I been a little savvier, a little tougher, things that I am but didn't know how to implement because I just haven't done it a lot. So I've got one coming up in just over a month, and I'm really honing in for that. Sensei Dauphin's competing there as well. Robert, Sydney. It's something that, yeah, I know it's there for me. It's not some pie in the sky thing. It's just tuning and attitude. And I think I'll be able to do that. So if it's not this next tournament, then staying the course, because it matters, I mean, you're putting something on the line and the ref says go. It's different than rolling in a club where you might get a guy, he might get you, but it's not like go, win or lose. And I like it. I shied away from competition in my 20s and 30s a bit. And I did some, but not a lot. And I think if I'm being honest, the little part of me wasn't quite sure how to step up for the moment. And hey, I hit it late, but I'm ready now.
That's cool.
We're gonna
I like the
stand, Sean.
specific-
You, me, and Sydney are gonna stand at that tournament with medals around our neck. It's gonna happen.
There we are.
Love it. Love it. Randy and I have talked about that idea of a destination week for training or something. And whether it's a destination week or not, what's been on my mind is I would like to isolate myself for a week with one of the martial arts that I do. For example, if I went up to Kitchener or London to train in the legacy fighting system, I would like to do, 2 hours in the morning, an hour at lunch, 2.5, 3 hours at night, and do that for 7 consecutive days. Or go over to Tokyo and train with our Goju guy in the Goju kata, and the same thing, do 3 a days for 7 days. Or go to Coach Kameho's gym, or Coach Guillemet's gym up in Canada, and do 3 a days for a week. You know what I mean? Just the only way I'm going to do that, because I got all these responsibilities at JMAC and I have to lead all these different martial arts. The only way I'm going to do that is to isolate myself, is go away to a camp. But our destination thing could be that too, we could do, BJJ every morning for 2 hours, and then we could do an hour-and-a-half session at lunch in karate, and then we could do, or some version of that, allow people to have that a week of immersion in whatever martial art they're pursuing. So that's kind of my goal, again, in the next 12, 18 months, is I want a week with one of the martial arts that I do.
Srinos, I'd say that one of the things that I like about the immersive experience would be, I have this really good benefit. Like I can go knock on Sense Legacy's door and go in. I can train with him in the morning and then follow him home from the dojo and drink a beer with him at the kitchen table. And that's what I think would be really cool about the immersive experience, is not only will you get that training, but you get to learn about that instructor, because inevitably you're going to find yourself at breakfast or getting coffee together or doing this thing. And then it's great to learn a technique, but it's better to learn that technique and learn something about the person who's teaching it to you as well. That makes it a more real and better thing, I think.
100%, 100%. Every time I've done something like that, it's been so valuable, even if it's not in the moment, even if you're not driving home or come to the dojo the next Monday and go, oh, I got this. But the follow-on effects, right? How it deepens your understanding of that art, how it gives it more context. When I went to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs and trained at USGI for a week, it was exhausting. We trained hard. I don't know. I learned a bunch of stuff, but it didn't sink in. But I guarantee you my judo was way better a year later than it was before I went to that thing, because of that immersive experience.
I don't go for training, but when I go to Los Angeles, I end up having immersive training experiences because I'm alleviated of all my other Toronto responsibilities. I'm going down there. Like recently I went down and a friend went through a bit of a tragedy, but I trained every day. And so it was like, that was my way of medicining myself and then helping him. So all of a sudden I'm just hanging with a buddy through a tough time and training, and I don't have to do all the other things that I love doing in Toronto. I love my life and responsibilities, but yeah, sometimes it takes getting away before then my mind is also just thinking of that. I'm falling asleep, not thinking of the meeting I have and the coaching I'm doing. I'm literally just falling asleep going, okay, my buddy's sleeping sound, and I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to try and get this move and whatever. So it's literally, sometimes I have to leave Toronto or else there's no way I can truly be immersive, even if I'm training every day.
Agreed.
Yeah. Sensei Dauphin, you got one for us?
Well, I just was thinking, I wonder if Sense Legacy has one for us. I just want to open the door to other people to ask questions around the horn. No pressure. If
No, I really didn't put anything together. So it'd be good if someone else came up with stuff.
No problem. So the next question I'll go around with the horn with everybody is, it's a fairly simple question, but I think it's a complex answer because I think it's multi-dimensional. Why do people quit doing martial arts? Why do they quit? And I'll frame it up a little more like, why do they quit in the beginning? Why do they quit in the middle? And why do they quit in the end? Like, or farther down, not in the end. You quit in the end because you die if you're me. But why do people quit doing martial arts out of the gate once they've done it for a while and been capable, or once they're an expert? Why do they do that? Benz, you're looking down because I'm not sure what you're looking at.
I got
but
I wrote
gonna
Yeah, I
go
was
to
just
you first.
great. I just wrote
I'm
down
gonna go to you
beginning
first.
to end so I could picture my thoughts. I think people quit in the beginning because the simplest change rattles their routine and they're not hooked yet. Like, even if they think they are, when I started taking karate, I was literally 5 minutes from alumni. Like, it's never been that easy since. And so then my next move is to Toronto from London, and you're halfway. That's a big jump. I was never going to quit, but that'd be a real easy point for a lot of people to quit. Or, and we've talked about this, they get that first boyfriend or girlfriend who doesn't get it and they're really attractive and exciting for a while, and it challenges that commitment. It challenges that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever. And I think that it's real easy. I think about it like blades of grass. When you're starting out, you've got like 6 little blades of grass poking up. It's not a lifestyle yet. You don't really know how to describe it when people ask. And one big step on it kills the whole field that hasn't grown yet. And I think that can happen to a lot of people, whether it's, and what if someone even gets in their first scrap and the magic of whatever martial art they're doing didn't emerge after their 8 months? They might hang it up then too, because it's almost easier. I think in the middle, you've got a bit of a thing now. So your routine or whatever, I think the middle's where it gets hardest. I think the middle is where you're just like, what, I've been doing this 6 years, 9 years. What now? It's deepening, but it doesn't accelerate the way it did at the beginning. Wow, you unlock a punch, that's like 100% increase in your skill. Your kick loosens up, it's like 100% increase. You start moving around well, but after 8, 9 years, it's more. And are you willing to stick out the period where the growth is smaller? And I think that's a lot of people go away then. As for later, I mean, this goes to a question I have, and whether we get to it or not. All I can say is there's a point where your peak physical is no longer the thing you get to hang your hat on. Like, my martial arts is better, and I destroy my 15-year younger self, but it's harder. That peak physical of mid 30s is, even though I'm fitter, but you get it. And so I think a lot of people maybe don't know how to transition into a place where they're not the fastest, they're not the hardest hitter, they're not the tough guy in the dojo anymore, and they're not sure how to pass it on and let the young guys surpass them, not in wisdom or knowledge, but in outright speed and power. I think there's a humbling moment. I think that's what I'm trying to say, and a lot of people can't get past that. So I think lifestyle, the difficulty of the long journey, and the humility of passing a bit of a peak.
Thanks. That's a well thought out answer off the top and on the spur of the moment, Sean. You're a smart guy, and those are well thought out and well felt out answers. Setsuino, do you have something you want to chime in on this?
Well, it's funny. What was that movie? Was it Westworld, where there's a bunch of robots? I think they're cowboys. And then if they see like civilization that doesn't match what they're supposed to be having, they just go, I don't see anything at all.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here trying to think of the answer why people quit, and I'm like, I can't think of any reasons at all. I can tell you from the external point of view, like, you have these beginners that start and they train for a month, month and a half, 2 months. It's a little bit hard. They miss a couple of weeks because they're sick or they have to go to work or, whatever. And then they never come back. And it's funny, in my town, I know some of those people. I run into them at the coffee shop or whatever, and they're sort of embarrassed and they don't really look me in the eye. I don't really know what happened there, right? I mean, I can ask them, but I'm not sure how forthcoming the answer would be. Some people get hurt or whatever. God, I hate this question. uh,
So happy I asked it. That makes me so happy
Yeah.
that you
yeah,
hate
it's the best.
Nice to see. It's like you've got the hot ears I had my first seminar right now, Sensei. Like, you're
Yeah.
genuinely uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't like the reasons why people quit martial arts. And if they liked it enough, okay, look, here's the deal. Here's a place I got a can opener into this. If someone comes to me after 3 months and they go, my buddy was going to this BJJ class and I went to it and I absolutely loved it. and I just love it more than doing judo. I'm like, okay, I don't like that answer, but I can accept it because you're moving into something that you still love. And if you're still doing BJJ in 30 years, more power to you. That's great. But if someone says, and they have said this to me, oh, I've been doing Iaido for 2.5 years and I'm about to get my Sankyu, but it's still really hard. And I don't think I'm ever going to be in shape for it. Then I'm like those robots in Westworld. I'm just I can't even say on public TV the things I think when I hear that stuff. It's like those are such stupid answers. And if you don't, you're gonna regret it when you quit like that. But if you don't regret it, that means there's some deep fundamental misunderstanding of the proposition that martial arts creates for you, right? And I may just not be articulate enough to explain it to people. But yeah, I don't like it when people quit. I think it's the worst. I think martial arts is the best, one of the best endeavors a human being can do. And if someone likes it enough as an adult, when they make their own decisions to endeavor into it and stay there long enough to taste the waters, I don't see why they should ever quit. It gets hard, but they should work through that. That's my weird feeling about it.
I'm so happy I asked this question. This is the highlight of the show for me, seeing you so irritated with this question.
I hate it.
So you see, where do you go with this? You've had arguably, you've had more people quit on you than like any other person on this call. So why do you think?
Well, I'm starting at the white belt level, and people will quit because they come in and they thought it was easy, and it's repetitious, and you're doing it over and over and over, and they just don't see the worth in that. Another reason is they get scared. They're in there, and then all of a sudden we start a sparring class, and I had a woman come in who was a black belt from another club. She just moved into St. Thomas, and she sat down to watch a Saturday morning class. And all of a sudden I said, okay, get your stuff on. Everybody got the stuff on. And she says, what are they doing now? I said, we're going to have fighting. We're going to do some sparring. I said, and she looked like, scared. And I said to her, well, have you ever fought? She goes, no, we've never done that. So that's one of the reasons, just simple reasons that they quit. Then people find out once they get started, they can't do a long commitment because martial arts is a lifelong thing. It's like religion. It's lifelong, right? And somebody already mentioned that they see other people who started at the same time get better than them, and they think that everybody's gonna, they should be able to keep up, but not everybody can do that. They don't like the instructor. Once they find he's too strict, or they just don't like his character, whether he's too rough or he's too passive, or sometimes they. And the final thing I'm going to say is, the more you learn, it's some type of a law or something. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and you're not willing to spend that time to do it. So you stop now while you're not wasting your time. That's all I got for now. I mean, those are all sad. Sorry, those are all sad, aren't they? People don't. That's why I said, if I had something to give you, it would be confidence. Confidence makes you try things. Have got confident in you making a good future for yourself. Things like that.
I didn't answer before you, Sensei, because I knew I would say a bunch of stuff that you would say. So I didn't. And then I think comparison is one that makes people quit. They compare themselves to other people around them.
Yeah.
And I think that's at every level. They become disillusioned. Like, this person got here in 10 years. This person got this. So I think that's one. I think sometimes people come in with unrealistic expectations, especially today. They're thinking it's going to be like Timbits hockey or other areas of their life where people just keep pushing you along. But in here, you don't get pushed along. You got to you got to push yourself along. You got to drag yourself along sometimes. So I think that's one. I think that's in the beginning too. I think, especially when it comes to the kids don't quit karate. The parents quit karate. And I'll just be honest about that. Like, if you're a parent and you're listening to this, you wouldn't let your kid quit math class. You wouldn't let them quit school or these other things that you think are important. This is equally as important as that. And you should make them come, even if they don't like it. I look at Ron Watson, all of his kids are black belts and all of them wanted to quit. And they're all happy that their dad made them stay and keep doing it. Every one of them say that. I'm so happy my dad made me stay and keep doing martial arts. People will often say to me, I don't like it. And usually I say, you don't even know it yet. Like, how can you say you don't like something you haven't even learned yet? You don't even know it well enough to say you don't like it. And I think people in the end, they actually don't quit. Like, they might quit their dojo, they might quit their instructor, but I think they just keep training away. They never lose the martial arts mystique. They just move it into a different realm, maybe their basement or wherever that is, but they don't actually stop doing it because they don't know how. And one caution I would give everybody is your biggest hurdles are going to be from the people who are closest to you. That is my experience. That it's your wife, your brother, your kid. They're the ones who are going to say, can't you just miss karate and come to this event? Can't you? Why is this? Because they can't understand, and you need to park that, move them aside a little bit and just say, don't expect them to understand, but still guard the thing that you like to do and don't let other people take it away from you. If you hate your job, most people still keep going to it, right? So, which I find weird when people are like, I hate the work that I do. And I'm like, well, when are you going to go again? They're like, tomorrow, right? But they find something that they actually really like and they let stupid reasons be the reason why they quit doing it. So don't quit the other things and don't quit this thing.
Quit school, your job.
Yeah.
School, your job, quit your kids, quit right? Yeah.
Before we go to Sensei Sweeto, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind chipping in one more idea on this, which is this is a slightly different perspective than the way we often talk because we're such lifers and train 6 or 7 day a weekers. But I would say to anyone out there who's newer, don't be afraid for it to take a sec for you to find your rhythm. Like in my first year, I was also hanging out with friends. I was doing plays. I was doing dance shows. In my first year of karate, I knew I loved karate, but I didn't know how to make it a 2 or 3 night a week thing yet. And even by the time I found jujitsu, I was a daily martial artist, but it still took me at least a year and a half before I was able to consistently hit 2 classes a week. I was feathering a new thing in to an existent life. And because we all have such, I think, valid egos around it, we're like, you should be training more, you should be training more. I think that could maybe scare a new person off, which is if you love it, just don't quit and gently find your way into the schedule. Because if you need to do 3 to 5 days a week out of the gate, you will quit. But if you go, okay, I can only make the 1 night a week, go to that. Tell your teacher why you can't go to the other. And do that as long as it takes before 2 nights makes more sense.
Yeah. And, Sean, build the life, right? Like, I'll be honest with you.
Yes.
Christine is on the call. I'm so grateful. Like my kids now, like after 35 years, they all know, don't plan an event at this time. Christine will say to me, you seem stressed out and distracted. You need to get your ass to the dojo and do some martial arts. Like it's so happy when you can build your life in that direction that you can have the people around you and eventually everybody will get there, right? The right people will stay and support you and the wrong ones will drop away.
Yeah. Sensei Sweeto, what do you got for us?
Well, I want to turn this to a more positive feeling because I have this dreadful this dreadful sense of anxiety and sadness when I think about people quitting. Um, uh, Today in kids karate, our guy Jeff Hauptman is out for some medical work, and so I was covering. I usually don't teach Thursday nights, but I was teaching tonight, and one of the young ladies in that class, she's so lovely. She's just one of those really sweet, innocent kids, and has struggled a little bit early in her karate, but she kept begging and begging and begging. I want to come to advanced class. I want to spar, begging, begging, begging. I'm like, okay. I made her ask me like 3 times over the course of 6 months before I let her in the class. She came in the class and she guts it out. And today we were doing some sparring and she went with one of the little monsters and he whacked her in the nose. He gave her a good shot in the nose and she took a couple steps back and she was holding it in, right? She was trying not to lose it. And she looked at me and she kind of looked away, looked at me and looked away. And I said, hey, you didn't think you were going to do karate your whole life and never get punched in the nose, did you? She's like, no. And I go, you're going to get back out there, aren't you? And she's like, she looked at me and she looked away and she looked at me. And then she did, man. She's like, she held her hands up and she walked back out there and she finished the fight. And afterwards we had a conversation and I was so proud of her, but you could see afterwards as she walked off the floor, she was really proud of herself. And that's a life-changing moment. That kid probably, I don't know, maybe I don't know her life outside of karate, but as far as I can tell, that might be one of the first times where she experienced scary physical pain intensely for a minute and then overcame it and walked back out and resumed the thing that she was doing. That's the opposite of quitting, right? That's I'm gonna motherfucking do this. And I'm so proud of her and I love those moments. I'm wondering I'm sure you have. I wonder if there's a moment or two that in recent memory that each of you could share something like that, where you saw somebody overcome something in the dojo or because of martial arts. Sensitive fan, you want to go first?
Man, I think a lot of that stuff is making something that's perceived to be negative into a positive. And so, for example, a lot of people come in here and they really just like me, they idolize the instructors, the black belts, the higher ranking students, they idolize them. So I think you were standing here one time, the student, his name is Ravana, and I was the one fighting with him. And I think he's was it 8 years old? And I bonked him one in the lip and he got a bloody lip, right? He grabbed his mouth and then I said to him, Ravana, oh my goodness, you have a bloody lip. And he grabbed his lip and he started to then I stopped the whole room. I said, hey, everybody stop. I said, who's got a bloody lip before? And the whole room put their hand up. There was I don't know, 20 of us put their hands up. Then I said, Ravana just got his first bloody lip. And everybody was like, yeah, and they all screamed, yay. And he was so excited now because we took that experience of something that everybody would think was negative. And he was I'm part of the tribe now. I'm part of these people. And that happened again recently. We have a kid here. He got punched in the nose. Sense Legacy, when you were here, his sister came and told you about it. As you were walking out the door, she said, oh, my brother got a bloody nose. And so I jammed some tissue up his nose and we took a picture over there. And I said, welcome to the Bloody Nose Club. And I posted that on the social network. And this is a benefit of the social network is the next time he came to class, I pulled him aside and I said, look at all these people that have said Sense Legacy said, congratulations. Jean-Yves Theriault said, welcome to the club. Daryl Hennigan said, I remember my first bloody nose. And he just smiled and felt a little better about this thing that he thought was going to be a negative. So I think for us as instructors, we got to make those negatives real and positive and make them realize that there's more bloody noses coming and more fat lips coming. And when you get them, the worst one's the first one, and they get a little easier after that because you can deal with it afterwards. That's my opinion on it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Sean, what about you? What about that opposite kind of thing? Is there somebody who's gone through a really profound moment or a great moment in the martial arts with you or because of it?
Well, my student Allison, who y'all know, she was a white belt and she was fighting Chelsea, who, was really sharp and crisp. And Chelsea just hit her way too hard for Allison being away, belt right in the throat. And Allison's relatively new and just starts going. And I just kind of knew Allison was fine. And so something in my head said, don't ask her how she is, because she doesn't know she's fine. And so I looked at her, and without saying a word, I just went like this. I went, she did it. And then I went, she did it. And I nodded and I put my hands up, and she went, and I said, and pointed back at Chelsea, and she went back and fought her. She's never thought about getting hit or fear since. And in that moment, it was just like, her throat wasn't collapsed. She just was shocked she was hit. And something in me said, she's fine. You know, she's fine. Make sure she knows she's fine, and spend not a lot of time on it. And if anything, now as a purple belt, I have to prevent her from taking shots. I'm like, stop leading with your fucking face. Put your hands up better. Because she doesn't mind being hit from that initial experience.
Yeah, you're framing it, which is really cool. I like that a lot. I think we got to remember that. Hanshi, what's something like, do you have a story of somebody who had some profound change or a great moment in the dojo, or because of some teaching that you had?
I'll tell you why you shouldn't quit. I once was, I think Randy was there. I once was grading this brown belt to a black belt, and he was doing his fighting. Guy hit him with a body shot, and he went down and he started rolling around and said, "Oh, he broke my rib, and all that." And I said, "All right, look, just get up and go stand at the line." He goes, "No, I'm not going back in there. I got my rib broken." It's just humming and hawing. And I said, "Look, just get up and go stand at the line." He says, "No, I'm not." He got up and walked into the dressing room. I bowed everybody out, and he was fine. He got up and walked out after. And I said, "All you had to do was walk up to that line, and I would have given you your black belt, just for having the courage to go in. And like when somebody hurts you in the street, you can't give up. That's what you're learning, is self-defense. Somebody hits you in the body and you go down, they're going to put the boots to you, or they're going to kick you in the face or something. So you have to have a different frame of mind than that. You have to be a bit more courageous. So always try harder. You never know what might happen.
That's a lesson that we teach all the time, hopefully.
The guy who broke his ribs was Robert Chomsky.
Well,
Yeah.
surprises me
Well-
none. I'm sure he could have broken mine too.
Regardless of who it was, the lesson was in the guy who got hit.
We got 2 minutes.
It's easy. Yeah, I'm done.
Thanks, Hanshi.
Sensei Sweeto, why don't you wind us out on this one? Because then you'll get us out here right at 10.
I will. Well, I got to time my conversation very carefully. Man, this thing rolled by in seconds. We just started talking. I don't even remember what we talked about. It was fun. I remember somebody raising a really depressing topic about people quitting the dojo. I think it's great. I'm so happy that we came back, Sean, that you're back in on a host chat night. It kind of brings everything back. We're going to have a couple of bouncy weeks here with some different guests and some micros and whatnot. But I want to say to everyone who's watching, many of us are going to be at Capital Conquest in Ottawa the first weekend in November. And if you haven't been to that, it's a spectacle. Sometimes 1,000, 1,500 martial artists in a room. A lot of really famous martial artists there. Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame. This year, we're going to do Tameshigiri test cutting, which is a new event at Capital Conquest. If you come up, we'll train with you. Join our mats, or don't join our mats, but just say hi and train with some of the other great instructors who are going to be there. It's a super fun event, and I really will looking forward to seeing these people and anybody else who's watching and wants to come up and join us.
Thanks, Sensei. That's a pretty perfect goodbye. Senseis, thank you so much for holding down the fort and allowing me back in now that I'm back. Thanks, Sensei Suino, for that. Sensei Dofan, Hanshi Legacy, and for everybody who watched and for your question, Andrew. We're so glad you're here, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.